we have our own project in our own queue. Again, if I type show res, I can see the reservation, see our training reservation. So they're at the top. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to make a copy of the files. So those are in soft examples compilation, and I am copying them into training. And so we should see a collection of 5 files: o_mpi.c, .cpp, .f90, a makefile, and a readme. Just really quickly, I am going to go through the motions. So we have a simple kind of a hello world program written in C++. A cat makefile really quickly, so there's no real surprises in here. And just as a quick point of review, I'm going to take a quick look at my .soft. And if I type make, is there anybody who's trying to follow along who hasn't been able to copy those files or locate them? Is there anybody who's trying to follow along and is at the point I'm at where they've typed make and had any sort of error? Cool. So I'm going to do one more ls. Sorry. So I've got binaries. So I'm going to go ahead and submit a job. We have an allocation of their purpose. So -A again is the and -A is a project name. I'm placing it into -Q, the training queue. Again, I normally wouldn't have to do this, specify a queue, it would be automatically routed. But since this is a reservation, I want to make I need to specify that reservation queue. I'm asking for 16 node -T, so 5 minutes. Again, I could also specify 000 hours, minutes, seconds, dash, and the number of nodes, the mode that I'm choosing. I'm gonna mix it up a little and say C8, so 8 ranks on the node. And redirecting output. And then finally, the name of the binary. So the number that comes back after I've hit return is my job ID. So I can see that my job is in a starting state. If I take a quick look, I have a .cobalt log. The job is now in a running state. And let's just take a quick. This, of course, will be my lock. So just taking a quick look, it's successfully booted, started, and now we've got an output file with a hello world. So if I had used the capital, rolling back to the Q sub, if I had used the capital O, everything would have been prefaced with that instead of the .cobalt log and instead of the .error. In the absence of any of those, all three files, my output, cobalt log, and error, would just have had the job ID. Any questions? Anybody trying to keep up? Okay. We may take a quick. So, a quick example of a script job submission. So cp-r soft examples script it's on. So there's a README file. Put that in the background. And then when we look at run, the first line again is just like any other shell script. Maybe that wasn't the hottest idea I've ever had. The first line is actually just a shell script, a bunch of documentation, number links, cobalt link, and then the part name and colon the path to the binary. One thing to think about again, since this seems to trip oh, that's awful. Is if I wish to add, and I apologize because I don't know how to change the colors, to something with a little more contrast. Let's see if I can. Colors. I apologize because there's no preset. So I'm not sure I can do this without making a total mess. But immediately after that first line, I can do #cobalt and say I want to specify my project each time. So rather than having to type ALCF _ getting started, and the dash Q, training for the queue. So you cannot have a space after the shebang. It has to be directly after. So say I'm going to be using that every time, save that, and then I can do Q sub theme. The important part is the dash dash mode script. And then the name of the script. And so again, we get a job ID. And apparently I can't spell. So, okay. So my script job is running. You can see the partition that's on. If we check ls-ltr, again, I've got Cobalt log that starts off with the job ID. Unlike the slide, I did not specify the -o. But I can take a quick look. And you can see where it sent output an error. It started booting. And just to take a look. So all of that is standard system noise. There's nothing to be concerned about, just as before. And if I look at the output, I have, once again, hello world. So there's an example of submitting an interactive job. And apologize because I didn't hit the mouse. Again, the example is that soft Cobalt examples interactive. I can copy them. We probably will not go through, just watching the time, probably will not go through all of these. But so the dash interactive or dash capital I give me an interactive queue. I'm gonna ask for 10 minutes. It'll take a moment because it's still going to boot a partition for me and set things up. Are there any questions so far? Anybody having any trouble? Okay, so we've got an interactive session. And note, by the way, I'm kind of right back where I'm at. The thing is, I've suddenly got a bunch of Cobalt environment variables set. So looking at the README, if I do, I'm actually going to copy something from so now I've got a binary, so I can do run job -- block. Anyways, cheat. The important colon, and then the name of my binary. So it runs the things that would go to standard out, standard go to standard error, things that go to standard out, go directly to standard out. And so the job itself only took sub-seconds to run. However, then there's also the job cleanup and shutdown, and we'll also see those messages. And when an interactive run is done, you still wind up with you still want a subshell as long as you've got time. And so if you finish an interactive job early, you can just type exit and drop back to the shell before.
So if you're not sure whether you're in the job shell or your regular shell, you could do an echo $cobalt_job ID. And if you see the job ID, you are probably in your job. Otherwise, it would be empty.
And if you're really not sure, they're generally not environment capital Cobalt job environment there are no Cobalt _ environment variables set by default in your shell. This would only appear in within a script, the execution of a script, or within an interactive job submission.
So the other thing is that when your job expires, your interactive shell still is sitting there. So what does it mean when your job expires? You've lost the ability to use the compute nodes that were allocated for you. So there isn't, unfortunately, any obvious message that that's happened. So the symptoms that it's happened are that if you do a run job, it will fail with some error message saying that you don't have permission to use those nodes. So you could then do a qstat on $cobalt job ID and see if the job still exists. And if it doesn't, then you know you ran out of time and you should just exit your shell. The reason why the shell is not killed is that you might be editing the source file or something like that when you're trying to get something to work. So we didn't want to pull the rug out from under you, so to speak. But it's not so easy to get a message to your terminal that the job died. So you do need to keep an eye on it with qstat in some way on your own.
So there's the question of multiple block submissions. I'm going to skip over this example because we don't have a partition that works.
Unless if someone has an app, someone anticipates needing this, you should speak up. But we do, on request, have a different video course on this subject, which is pretty involved. But the important thing to know is that you can create jobs that do multiple runs all at the same time. And there are two different methods that you can use to do it, and they apply in slightly different regimes of job sizes and depending on your machine. And they can also be used in combination. So if you need to do something like that in order to get large enough jobs for the production queue, then you should talk to your catalyst or talk to us. By us, I mean support.
So the ensemble example is a little large. The subblock, I believe there's one that's reasonably sized, so I'll run through that one really quickly. Of course. So I'm not totally sure Creator was going with on this, but they've got a queue subline. The key piece here is the disable preboot, because you would need the run job itself to do the booting. And then within, it sets a number of environment variables that dictate partition shape and size for each of the subblocks, and then sets the run job arguments in place. There's a script referred to as get bootable blocks that show how many blocks are available at a given size within a partition, and then what their geometry and corners should be. That won't work. Oh, yes, it will. And then it actually constructs a run job listing the listing the blocks in the corners to use within the block. And checking to see what they made the name of the executable. So I'm going to cheat again and steal the hello world.c, place that here. I'm going to take a moment. Cute. I apologize. So I've got name of a binary. So we should wind up with picking part list to see it's available. The name of the project, the charge. For queue. The number of nodes. The time. In this case, I'm doing in minutes. The important No important and disable preboot. Load script. And then the name of our job script. So away it goes. Take a quick look at the queue. Let's see my jobs. So we had echoed these variables out. And I think there is a bug. We'll see in a moment. So as predicted, so actually surprisingly everything worked. So we wound up with 264 node executions within a single 128 node block. Just to check and see how folks are doing. Okay. I'll give those a minute to finish. Do one more example. Soft, Cobalt, examples, Python. One important thing to think about is the front-end Python is not the same as the back-end Python. So we are not running user bin Python because that is, again, built for the login nodes as opposed to the back-end. Because porting certain things to the Blue Gene is a bit of a challenge. The version of Python is a wee bit on the ancient side. The supported version is 2.7.5. If you need newer things, again, reach out to us via support and we will try to make arrangements. This again is the running Python on the compute nodes, not Python on the login nodes. So we're setting 2 environment variables and then running. I'm going to make adjustments for this. So again, the dash capital A. Well, I'll show off one other thing because it's been driving me crazy. Export project equal set that. I do need to set the queue. The training. Taking a quick look at what's being run itself. I'm going to cheat again. Or maybe not. I may understanding why. So again, I've got a job ID. The job is starting, and so while kind of waiting for this to run through, does anybody have any additional questions? Thank everyone for coming. Thank you for your attention.